When you take a look at the Dallas Mavericks, the first thing you probably think of is Luka Doncic. Respectfully so, he's absolutely backpacked this team over the past 4 years and has single-handedly turned them from a lottery team to one of the best teams in the Western Conference, and arguably the NBA as a whole. But the problem with the Mavericks is that they just can't get over the hump and reach that higher tier with the better NBA teams. And that's because Luka can only do so much by himself. During the regular season, as long as your stars stay healthy, they can carry you. But when the playoffs hit, your superstar can't do everything by himself anymore. And complementary pieces are a necessity. So the question is, how can the Dallas Mavericks switch the direction of their franchise and become a championship contender? What's going on, guys? Bucket Media back with another video. And today, we're talking about the Dallas Mavericks and what they need to do to become a championship contender. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. It's by far the best way to support the channel and ensure you don't miss out on any great basketball content like this. If we can hit 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, I'll announce a big giveaway, so make sure you're subscribed and stay tuned for that. If you haven't already, make sure to join the 100% free Bucket Media Discord server, where we'll discuss more about basketball. I'm looking to grow the Discord community more before making it a place where I put exclusive content and make special announcements, so make sure to join. If you have any video suggestions or requests, please drop a comment so I can put it on the list and create it. Also, like the video and comment on what you think about the Mavericks' current situation and what do they need to do to get to that next level of NBA teams. With that being said, let's dive straight into the video. Ever since Dirk Nowitzki retired, the Mavericks have been in a no-man's land situation. Their awful seasons paid off though. When the 2018 draft hit, they were able to select Luka Doncic with the third pick, and he has been nothing short of generational since entering the league. Since entering the league, he hasn't averaged less than 21 points per game and statistically improves every year. Just 2 seasons after getting drafted, Doncic led his Mavericks team to the 7th seed in a loaded Western Conference, and since then has put Dallas in a respectable position amongst all the other NBA teams. But despite their early regular season success, recently one thing they've been struggling with is competing in the playoffs. In the Mavericks' first 2 appearances in the playoffs with Luka in 2020 and 2021, they lost in the first round both times to the Los Angeles Clippers. Last year, they turned that around by making it all the way to the Western Conference Finals, but losing to the eventual champions, the Golden State Warriors. Now you might be thinking to yourself, if they just made the Western Conference Finals, Luka's statistically improving each year, and their overall record has been improving year by year, what is the concern with them? The number one problem by far for the Mavericks is their depth. When you look at the team from top to bottom, it's really just filled with one superstar and a bunch of role players. Ever since Luka was drafted, he's been the one carrying the load for the entire Mavericks team and backpacking them to the playoffs annually. And unlike most teams that land high draft picks, which are bad for multiple years, in the Mavericks' case, Luka was so good that they weren't able to tank for multiple seasons to get another star. But this season, it's really started to take a toll on not just the Mavericks team, but Luka as well. If there's one thing that we've learned in NBA history, it's that no player can ever carry an NBA team single-handedly to a championship without another star. Just a few years ago, James Harden and the Houston Rockets were a perfect example of that. Plus, this year, Luka's usage rate is at an all-time high at 37.7%, which is second in the NBA behind Giannis Antetokounmpo and 7th all-time. But his high usage rate and statistically historic season so far, averaging 34 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists per game, isn't enough to clinch the Mavericks a playoff spot, with them being the 11th seed currently in the West. But that can change due to the tightness record-wise in the West. But their problems all start with the roster construction they have. Aside from Luka, the Mavericks roster doesn't consist of any stars. The only 2 that can maybe come close is Christian Wood or Spencer Dinwiddie. For most of the season, Wood's been off the bench and has been extremely underutilized or inconsistent in games where he has played, and on top of that, has been battling with injuries. Dinwiddie's been playing solid this season though, stepping up to the plate and giving the Mavericks a lot of what they lost from Jalen Brunson in free agency, but he still doesn't put consistent numbers that you want from a star, and his game isn't the best fit when we're talking about the ideal star to pair with Luka. The rest of their team consists of 3-and-D players like Dorian Finney-Smith, Reggie Bullock, Josh Green, and more, plus bigs like Dwight Powell and JaVale McGee. And most of those players have been relatively inconsistent over the course of this season, despite their success in the past. And although on the Mavericks these players make their way into the starting lineup, on any other competitive team, none of them would start. We've seen some flashes from Jaden Harden in the G League, but still hasn't proven himself to be a star, and he probably would just be a microwave scorer in the league, not really a star. The Mavericks' offensive philosophy is simple: surround Luka with shooters and bigs who could get rebounds down low. But when teams switch up their defensive schemes accordingly during the playoffs, that method won't work anymore. Plus, with Luka having such a high usage rate, and the Mavericks depending on Luka on a nightly basis, he can get prone to injuries easily, or just get fatigued, which can hurt them if they're trying to make a push for the playoff seed this upcoming postseason. But now with the roster aside, the question is, what do the Mavericks do next to turn their franchise around? The Mavericks need another star, and possibly two, plus a retool around their roster. But the problem with that is their flexibility is extremely limited. Due to the Mavericks giving up multiple first-round picks to the New York Knicks in the Kristaps Porzingis trade, having virtually no cap space to sign a star, and not having any intriguing assets for teams to give up their stars for, what exactly can they do? I know many Mavs fans will hate to hear this, and you guys will probably call me crazy, but the Mavericks need to tank this season for multiple reasons. Right now, they should develop their young talent like Josh Green and Jaden Harden and see how good they can get quick, while flirting with the trade market to see if there's any potential upgrades on role players, or eat up some expiring contracts to gain some picks. The worst possible thing they can do is trade for a star right now, because by giving up picks and future assets, they'll put themselves in major jeopardy later on and repeat the cycle that happened with Kristaps Porzingis. Now, although the Knicks have the rights to the Mavs' first-round pick this year, the pick is a top 10 protected pick, so by losing games, they can acquire a nice young talent in the draft, and either look to keep him or trade him later on. After the 2023 offseason, things start to even out for the Mavericks. I don't think the Mavs should look to sign anyone in the offseason due to there not being many good options on the market or any good fits. After 2023 free agency, they'll still be in a situation where they're over the cap, but not as much as they are now. Plus, if a star becomes disgruntled and looks for a trade, the Mavericks can be in a position to get him due to the flexibility with their picks now and cap space. Stars come available all the time, and from then on, it'll be easier and easier to get a star for the Mavericks as their cap situation gets more and more flexible. Now, with that aside, who could the Mavs acquire? I think the two types of stars the Mavs need are an elite scoring guard and a dominant big. Two guards that come to mind are Zach LaVine and Bradley Beal. Both the Bulls and Wizards have had disappointing seasons from a winning standpoint so far, and those two guards may ask out of their current situations, later on making them available. If 2 to 3 years from now, a guard that has a similar game or production level emerges, in case LaVine or Beal regress, I think that the Mavs should push for a player like that. I think another star that would work great with Luka and isn't in a good situation right now is Karl Anthony Towns. With Towns having a disappointing season, his value may be at an all-time low. Trading a guy like Christian Wood and some more assets could be an option to look at for the short term. But overall, this is going to be a long-term process for the Mavs. If a deal comes by that doesn't involve giving up any picks that could have high value, where the Mavs could get a star in return, I think they should look at that. But aside from that, they'll have to wait till all those overpaid salaries run out and they get their picks back to look at potential trade or signings of a star. And while they wait, they might as well get the most they can out of the draft. It might seem crazy to tank when you have a guy like Luka and just coming off the Western Conference Finals, but when you look at Dallas' current situation, they really have no leverage to make anything significant happen. Due to them overpaying players and giving up too many picks, their options are limited, and if the Mavericks aren't able to get another star for Luka, there isn't much growing the team can do. Luka might end up asking for a trade if they lose and can't contend. So really, the clock is ticking for the Mavs, and they must surround Luka with the necessary pieces to win before it's too late. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it to the end and you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. It's by far the best way to support me and help this channel grow. And I appreciate you so much if you're a returning or new subscriber. Stay tuned because we have some big stuff coming soon. Make sure to join the Discord server, link in the description, and like the video and comment on any video suggestions for the future or anything I could have done better. Also, make sure to comment on what you guys think of the Mavericks and what they should do, plus what their future holds. I'm very curious to hear what you guys have to say, so drop a comment and let's get a great basketball conversation started. I'll see you guys on the next video and have a blessed day. Peace.